Hi everyone. In this session, we're going to learn about what is cloud computing and we're going to also compare different cloud players like AWS, then Azure, then GCP. Okay, so let me share my screen so that we can start ahead. So, yeah, so before starting anything, it is better to know about what exactly a cloud computing is. Okay, so cloud computing is on-demand delivery service where you don't have to buy the IT resources. Either it is storage or it could be your the networking parts, the compute parts, the processor. Those things are not required over there. You can just directly use those things using internet in order to use the infrastructure. Okay, so this cloud computing will going to help you out in order to optimize your cost, as well as you don't have to think about in order to maintaining the infrastructure by your own. Okay, so you see, this is all about cloud computing and I have just copied this definition from Wikipedia only. But before starting ahead, it is also very much important to know about the history and one more thing which is very much important, which is me. So yeah, hi, my name is Ranjit Srivastav, and today we're going to learn about the cloud computing, its advantages, different key players, and how you can compare among different players and which one you it will be the best option in order to pick. Okay, so here we go. Let me just open the whiteboard so that we can start discussing about the history. So history is very much important. If you know it, the history from where this cloud computing came into the existence, then it will be much easier for you to understand what will be the future predictions. Okay, so in history, like around 1950s, uh, even I was also not born at that moment, but yeah, during 1950s era, we got a mainframe. Okay, at that moment, what was happening? Organizations, companies using this mainframe computer in order to process the data, in order to deploy their application. Okay, and then with time, what happened? Because it was not so much cost efficient. Like suppose you are an organization, you have to buy a big servers and where you're going to process each and everything, store each and everything. And at that moment we were not also aware that how much computation, how much networking thing will be required in order to deploy the application. So there was a lot of problem, like whether there's a demand of your application is there or not, you have to stick to that big mainframe machines. Okay, but after it, around 1970s, around 1970s, we got desktop, then 90s 80s, there was a little bit advancement was coming. But after a decade, some advancement was happening. But around 2000, something very special happened. It was an era where people start using internet. Now, internet was widely spread. Okay, people start using the internet and lot of applications were deployed on internet, and people were start thinking that how we can leverage the internet in order to boost their business. Okay, so what was happening, like around 2003, around approx, AWS, the Amazon has launched the AWS, the first of its kind. Okay, and start providing these cloud services. Okay, those services like EC2 was one of the services which AWS start with. It is a service through which you are able to create the virtual machine. And here one thing which is very very much important to know about, like during 2000 and 1990s, there was a lot of advancement was happening. The virtualization was happening. The VMware has totally changed the complete landscape. Okay, now just understand, like if you want to deploy any application, previously what was happening, they were completely buying a whole big server and then they were launching the application over there. But with the help of virtualization, what you can do, like within a server you can create different virtual machines over there, and inside the virtual machine you can deploy your application. Okay, in this way we were fully utilizing our server. Previously we were not able to achieve that. So I will say this virtualization is a very key aspect for the growth of the cloud computing, because if there is no concept like virtualization, then I hardly think like there will be a chance of this cloud computing. Okay, so virtualization is very very much important, and thanks to VMware who started all those things, and thanks to Amazon who gives this product, which is AWS. Okay, and around 2003 2006, this was a time when AWS was launching its services like EC2, as I said. It's a service for creating the virtual machine on cloud. And then we got S3, which is used for as storage. And then around some CloudFront services also launched, which is for done for content delivery network, something like that. So during the first half of the period when AWS was launched, they were just launching all those things where through which you are able to deploy your application on cloud. At that point of time, people start adopting this cloud computing things. And around 2010, we got Azure, a product of Microsoft. Again, they are going to provide that same thing, the cloud services, just like the AWS does. But there was a little bit time interval was there, they were late. But yeah, just because of Microsoft and Apple was the key players for deploying the operating system year ahead when AWS was there. So what was happening, like a lot of companies were using the Windows servers, all of those things were happening. So when Azure came into the picture, people, the organization which were using the Windows server, they adapted this Microsoft Azure. So this was one of the advantages which Microsoft get, just because of as old players. Okay, they just use the Azure services in order to use the cloud services. Okay, now around 2001 year back, we got GCP. Okay, another big player. Like these are three big players in cloud computing platform. Like one is AWS, other one is Microsoft Azure, and third one is what? It is GCP. And rest of them are the very predominant players in the cloud computing. But still, the market share captured by these three key players is more than 60%. Okay, so it is very very much important to know about these three key players, so that in case in future, like if you know that how to work with AWS, it will be much easier for you to work with Azure as well, because the concept will remain same. Okay, there's one book I want to highlight over here. There's one book called Why Start with Why, a book from Simon Sinek, which you can prefer if you want to. And that book, I just got to realize that it is very very much important to know about why you should learn something, why you should do anything. Okay, if this why part is clear, the fundamental is clear, it will be much easier for you to learn the things. The what and how part will be done very easily when you know the why part, the vision is clear, then it will be much easier for you to adopt those things. Okay, so as I said, there are so many players are there in cloud computing, but it is very very important to stick with one. Okay, like if you're the beginner, it is very much important to pick with any of them. I will suggest AWS is beginner friendly, so you start with the AWS, and then it will be much easier for you to work with other cloud service provider. Okay, so now let me open my slides one again, and we can discuss other things. So here through the slide you can see around 60% of world's corporate data is stored in the cloud. So through this data you can understand the demand of cloud computing, that around the world 60% is a very huge amount. Okay, and rest of them, if they are using on premise, uh, they were using some kind of cloud services which were deployed on premise also. So there would be a huge chance. Okay, but still you can see from this data that around 60% of the world corporate data is stored in the cloud. Whether you know that human generates a humongous amount of data, whether we are using any social media sites or whether we are doing anything, we are creating some data online. So those data are stored somewhere. Where they are basically stored in cloud. Even like if I go on my phone, I will find Google Photos is there. If you're using the Lightroom, where I have provided all those things. So there are so many spaces like Dropbox, if you're using for sharing the file, the Google Drive, all those files are stored in somewhere in the cloud. Okay, and just because of there's a humongous amount of data which we are creating, we need a space. Okay, like today we have 15 GB of Google Drive, which is not so much sufficient, just because of a huge data creation is happening all the time. Okay, now these are some of the advantages which you can find over here, which cloud computing provides, like cost saving. Of course, there is a cost savings there. Just think about a situation like if you want to, that you got an idea. Okay, you got an idea. Now, what you want to monetize your idea with the help of application. So what's going to happen, you have to in older days you have to buy the server and then you're going to deploy all those things. Yeah, not only buying the server, you have to configure the networks, you have to configure a lot of things, racking, and their lift and shift will be there. But now what if you want to deploy any application, you can just go with any cloud computing service. Okay, like you can use AWS, you can use Azure, or you can use GCP, or even there are some providers like Heroku, the Vercel, Netlify. There are a lot of others which are on the top of the cloud computing only. Okay, and they are providing interface so that you can easily deploy your application very well. So here, this particularly, the biggest advantages which you're going to have with the cloud computing is cost saving. Very, very important. Then we got scalability. What is scalability? Like scalability of doing application scaling up and scaling down. Now just think about a situation like there is big billion days sale is there, or some Black Friday sale is there, Diwali sale is there. It could be anything. Okay, whenever there will be some event, there will be some kind of sale will be there. Okay, now on the rest of the days, there is a traffic, a general traffic is there, but on those peak days there will be a high traffic will be there. Now you have to build your solution in such a way that they are able to manage those traffic. Okay, so with the help of these cloud services, what you can do, you can easily scale up the application to tackle those demand which is coming on those peak days, and then scale down the application when the demand is not so much required. Okay, so this is one of the advantages which you can have with the cloud computing. Not just think about the situation in the older days what was happening, like they were using the mainframe. Okay, so they have to run those mainframe all the time. Okay, and now if the sale is there, so they have to also install the another servers as well in order to tackle the traffic. So this, like most of the time it was underutilized. So again there was a lot of cost was incurring, and still the scalability is again a very big issue. Okay, so this is the advantages which you're going to have with the help of this cloud services. And this elasticity is another advantages of cloud computing. Through the name you can understand what elastic means. Sometimes if the demand is high, you will be able to increase the number of instances, and then the demand is down, you can just decrease the number of instances. This is the way that cloud computing is doing. Okay, not only for AWS, all the cloud computing services provide these advantages. Okay, and yeah, of course, the security. Now here the security means lot of security. It could be physically security, or it will be digital security, it will be anything. Okay, how you will going to set up the firewalls, how you're going to you know set up the application firewall, the infrastructure firewall. There are a lot of other things out there. The networking is a very important thing in order to make your application secure. So if you're going to do it by yourself, then you have to do it lot of things, lot of configuration you have to do you by your side. You have to also perform the patching thing, like if any update has to be done, you have to do it manually. But if you're going to use any cloud computing service provider, they're going to do it all those things on your behalf. Okay, so that is why you are paying for it basically. But yeah, you have outsourced those things, but still it is making your life much easier. Rather than doing by yourself, all those things will be done by the the cloud service provider. Okay, so these are some things which you can have with the this cloud computing. Other than it, we have another advantages which is reliability and the high availability. Now just think of a situation like you have built the servers, you have configured each and everything. Now in that particular area there was a flood, or it could be a fire will be there, or it could be anything. Now all the application which would deploy on that server, because it is not properly distributed globally, then your application will going to compromise. And if anything bad is happening to your application, which simply means that what, that your business is getting down. So it is very, very much important to make your application in such a way that they are highly available. Like if something went wrong, either is there is hardware fault is there, or any storage fault is there, some network outage is there, but still your application is deployed, your application is not getting compromised just because of those external factors. And with the help of this cloud computing, you got this thing. I'm going to also discuss about the global infrastructure which these three key players provide. The global infrastructure, okay, in the later part of this session only. Okay, now other advantages of cloud computing is data backup and the disaster recovery. So these are one of those point only. uh, if you want to perform the data backup, you can also do that. You can see, just understand, like if you're going to do it by yourself on premise, you have to buy those storage devices, and you have to put those data over there. Okay, now just think of the situation like if you're going to use cloud service, if you're going to use cloud service provider, what's going to happen over there? Here they have different options, like they have different storage classes. Like any data which you're using frequently, then they're going to charge a little bit high. If some data is not using so much frequently, then they're going to charge a little bit less. And some data which is just kept for the archival basis, then they're going to charge very, very less amount. So they have different storage class options which you can opt for and configure the life cycle for those storage, and we're going to save a lot of money. Okay, so they provide those things. Okay, so this data backup is basically used, like, just understand, like, if everything is working fine, and if there is any chance, like any disaster happen or anything happen, those backup data will going to help you in order to recreate the same environment, same thing, so that you can start running the same workload over there. So data backup is very much important for the future reference, for the future recovery for disaster. So just understand, this is one of the advantages of cloud computing, which with the help of this you can do this data backup and disaster recovery very easily and very quickly. Okay, then the other point is rapid innovation. Okay, so what rapid innovation means, see, we know like today, we have ChatGPT, we have Google Bard, we have so many other AI tools is out there. Okay, it is list is on and on, we cannot count it. It is something which is happening each and every day. Okay, and those new technologies, like either it could be, in terms of AI or machine learning, or it could be in data science, or it could be in container orchestration, it could be anything. So there is innovations happening all the time. So if you have to do it by yourself, it will take a lot of time, and learning curve will be there, learning steep will be there, and you have to hire those specialized person in order to do that. Okay, and in order to configure all those things. But here, this part will become done by the, the cloud computing service provider. They were going to do those part. Now here, there's so many services out there in cloud computing which you can use it, like if you have zero background with, the how you were going to configure everything, like, you don't know how to write a code. Okay, there is something called honey code in AWS, which is a zero code platform through which you are able to build the application as well. Okay, not only honey code, there are a lot of things are available which you can use it in order to make the application very quickly. Okay, now suppose, if you want to build any machine learning application, like for example, like if you want to build some computer vision application, like there will be some application which will going to scan something, and then it will going to perform certain things, whatever is the use case. Now in that particular case, you have to learn the machine learning, you have to learn computer vision, you have to learn so many frameworks, so many libraries in order to build such application. So it will be a little bit tough for you. Now if you have zero background and you want to do those things, you can do it very easily with the help of cloud computing, because they provide so many services, so many managed services, where there's no need of learning it how you can build the CNN, the convolution neural net, which is used for, this computer vision. You have to not do those part. That part will be done by the cloud computing. Okay, so for example, there's a service called AWS recognition, through which you can build the computer vision application. There's a service called Amazon comprehend, which you can use it for, making the NLP application. There are so many services out there which you can use it without knowing it. Yeah, without knowing that how to write all those code with the help of TensorFlow or any libraries like Keras, you can do it. Just you have to just click and click, and hence that will be created. Okay, and yeah, it will of course will going to increase efficiency, just because here everything within a minutes you can deploy anything. Like if you want to have the virtual machine, you can just click and that virtual machine will be created. You need some spaces, within a click that storage will be created. If you want to create, what I say, this machine learning services, within a click you can do that. So in this way the efficiency will be also get increased. Okay, and when the efficiency is getting increased, which means there will be profit for the business will be also going to be happen. Okay, now the another advantage, these are some other advantages which I have mentioned. There are a lot of other advantages which I have not mentioned over here. Just you can do the Google search and you will get it know what are the advantages of this cloud computing. Okay, now we have something called deploy globally in minutes. Okay, what it mean basically, deploy globally in minutes? This is something like there are, as I said, they provide you the high availability feature, which means like your application is not sitting into one particular location. That could be, around the world, around the globe. Like if you want to launch your application in US, you can also do that. If you want to launch your application in Europe, you can also do that. So within a minute you can do that. Okay, and it will be accessible around the world. So you can deploy application, you deploy with the workload globally within a minute. Okay, now some of the things which I want to show you. Okay, some of the things which I want to show you, uh, like this global infrastructure. Okay, so here through this you will be able to see like the the data centers around the world of this AWS, and then I'm going to show you for Microsoft as well, and there's Google as well. So if you go over here in this particular website, aws.amazon.com, and then in this particular global infrastructure, you will find it very well. Like this is the, the map, and here you will find like these blue dots are basically are those regions which are active right now. Okay, they are in the working condition. Okay, and those in red color are basically coming soon. So here you can see like around the different continents, you will find like they have some, region, they have the data center around the different continents. Okay, they are spread around the globe. Okay, like here you can see, these are basically the regions there. Here, around 31 regions are there in AWS. Now, what the heck is this? This availability zone and this, oh, the reasons. So what basically it is? So just understand, like here you are not going to manage those data centers. Here you're not going to manage those servers, but there will be those data. Okay, it is not something like it will going to be run on cloud, something like that. There will be a data center, there will be all those things will be happening, which you have to do it by yourself, but you have outsourced those part to the cloud service provider. You have to not perform those things. Okay, that particular part, that thing will be done by cloud service provider. No, just understand what basically the reason are and what are ability zone in context to this AWS, and it's going to also work fine with Azure and the GCP as well. So just understand, like suppose this is my data center. Okay, this is my data center. Inside the data center, there are so many servers are out there. Like if you go over here and just do the Google search data centers, for example, the AWS. And here, if you go inside these images, you will find there are so many, these images are out there. So basically, these are the data center, how they look like. There will be some racks will be there. Inside that racks, some storage component will be there, some networking component will be there, some compute component will be there. All those components all together will going to make a data center. Okay. Now, suppose you have data center installed in area 1 and in area B. This is your data center A, this is your data center B, and this is your data center C. And within that particular region, around the different localities, we're going to have different data center. Okay, and they are well connected also. Okay, with low latency connection with a high throughput, so that anything will be transferred from B to A very quickly. Okay, very efficiently. Now if something happened to this A location, the if there is some compromising is happening in this A data center, still you got B and C, which will going to take care of the your workload. Okay, and now this is the cluster of data centers. These are the cluster of the data center, and if you're going to make it it will be a logical group, you can say, and you can name it as a AZ, which is availability zone. Okay, so what is availability zone? Availability zone is a cluster of data centers. Okay, now what the heck is this reasons? Okay, now just like we do we have one availability zone, we can have other availability zone as well. AZ2, AZ3, AZ4, or whatever. Like if you're going to consider the default region of AWS, which is North Virginia, US East 1, which is very popularly used, in that case, in that particular region, we have 6 availability zone, which means in the similar way, there will be 6 clusters of data center will be there located into different parts of the country. So let me just show that particular thing once again. Yeah, so here you can see in this AWS official website, from here you can find like there are total 31 launched regions are there, and with each with multiple availability zones, and in total they have 99 availability zones. So we have 99 data centers around the world. Okay, and not only data center, sorry, 99 every zone. Inside that one every zone we're going to have clusters of data centers. Okay, not only this, this AWS also provides something called edge location and regional edge caches. So these are very much important. Like we have discussed what is the every zone, what is the reason. Like let me just draw that particular line as well. Like this boundary we're going to have for reason. Now what is edge location? This is something which is very very much important to know about it. What is the edge location? Because the things which whatever I'm saying right away, it is not only for AWS, it will going to work for all other no key players of this cloud computing domain. Okay, so what is edge location? Just understand, suppose you have chosen the Mumbai region. Okay, and here your application is deployed because your company is based on India, your user data is also based on India, so it's better to use the Mumbai region only in order to deploy the application. Now in India only, like suppose this is your India map, and I'm very poor in drawing that thing. Let's leave that part. Just understand this is Mumbai, and here New Delhi will be there, and here Bangalore will be there some here, and here some Hyderabad will be there, and around here the Kolkata will be there, something like this. And we have around different edge location across the India look for this Mumbai region. And recently, the Hyderabad also is another new reason for India for AWS. Okay, so basically now just understand your application, all things are deployed in Mumbai region, and your user will going to access you, they want to access your application. So what going to happen, it will going to use this edge location. Okay, this is all the edge location, okay, nearby to for your user base. So if your users is around the NCR region, then they're going to use this New Delhi, the edge location. Now here what going to happen, this edge location will going to contain the cache copy of your content. Like if any other person have requested for their something, it will be stored into this cache location. So the next time whenever some other person want to request for something, that cache will be there. And just because of this cache, what going to happen, that there will be a very less latency will be there. So this is the advantage of having the edge location. And from here you can see, like we have around 400 plus as locations, okay, throughout the throughout the AWS global infrastructure. Okay, so here you can see that lot of reasons are in will going to come this year. Like Israel is there, Thailand is there, Singapore is there, Malaysia is there, and then Auckland is there, this New Zealand, and then we have Canada. So some of the reasons are in the in the will going to come very soon. Okay, now let me just open for Azure. Okay, and they have beautiful interface for showing the availability zones and all those data centers. So here you can see this is our Earth, and it's here they got a very beautiful interface, so that we can see all those things. Even we got the satellites also going over here, you can find over here. Okay, so yeah, here you can see like we have some dots for the reasons and dots for edge location, and how you can see there how they are well connected to each other. Like if you're going to zoom in, how they are all those things are processing over here. I think this will be the Southeast Asia, and here we have Indonesia over here. Okay, and here we have the India. Okay, South India, and India South Central India, Bombay, and then we have, I think, I don't think this was Gujarat, and then we have this Delhi region over here, and this is our India map. From here you can see that thing. Okay, and if you want to know more about it, just you have to click over here, and it will going to give additional information for that particular data center. So this is different data center which is located around the globe. Okay, and this is something which I literally love about this Microsoft. The maps they're providing, like previously I was using Google Map, now these days I've started using the Microsoft maps, because they were going to provide a better interface as compared to the Google Maps. Okay, now other than this, this is the Google Cloud, and here this Google Cloud, just understand that around 2003 and 2006, something like that, AWS was launched. Okay, and then after 2003, like if you're going to take this year 2003 and then 2010, 7 years, after 7 years we got Azure and the GCP afterwards. So AWS was the first of its kind who have launched this cloud services, all those things. So they got advantage just because of the time, like when they came into the picture of this cloud computing domain. So the number of the every zone, the number of this data center will be higher as compared to with this GCP. Okay, this Google Cloud. Okay, as you can see, they have the 37 region, but not so many location as compared to the AWS or as compared to the Azure. People started adopting Azure just because of previously people were using, organization were using the Microsoft thing. So that is why Microsoft product, the Windows servers or the .NET things, something like that, people get easily adopted that Azure thing. Okay, but this Google Cloud take a little bit time, but still, as you see, like there's one chart I have created. Let me show you over here. uh, this is the, you can see the growth rate. Like if you're going to compare the growth rate of between these three key players, which is AWS, Azure, and GCP, you will find that the growth rate of the GCP is somehow higher as compared to the AWS. Although market share of AWS is higher, you can see 33% of organizations using AWS, okay, and around 22% are using Azure, and then we have GCP around 9%. Okay, so if we do some simple maths, like 33 plus 22 plus 9, you will find around 64% there have captured the whole thing, and rest of them is around 36%. They are the others. In others, you find in the Oracle, you will find IBM Cloud. I also use the IBM, and IBM came with a very very advanced feature which was Watson. I love that feature of that Watson. Through that, you will be able to create so many things. Even we got a news around 2015 or around 2016 that Watson has beaten the chess champion. So in that particular age, when 2016, those things were evolving. Okay, so here we'll see, you can see the market share of these three key players like AWS, Azure, GCP, and others, and you can find that just because of the advantage which AWS got, because it was the first of its kind, so it got a time, and that time helped this AWS to grow its business. Okay, but still, they are not so much behind. Like if you're going to compare with AWS and Azure, they have very cutthroat competition is there, and this GCP, as I said, the growth rate of GCP is somehow higher. So I don't think so. Like what's going to happen in upcoming years, there will be chance like GCP will be in the second position, or there will be chances Azure will be in the first position, or it could be anything. Or like just if you see like the past records, past stats, you will find this AWS is at the first positions. Once it came into the picture, like from if you're going to take it from the 2010, like when we're going to have this Azure and the GCP, this AWS was in the first position from that particular time. Like it's around a decade. Like if you're going to take it from 2020, now we are in 2023, and this is going to also end soon. So if you're going to take like around 13 years, this AWS is always in the first position. So knowing AWS, we're going to give a very much advantage, because a lot of organization is using this AWS. So it will be much easier for you to learn about this AWS. And also, as I said, if you know the white part, if you know the fundamental concepts of this cloud computing, then you will be easily switch from AWS to Azure. If you want to switch it to GCP, you can also do that. Just you have to understand the concepts is a very much important thing. Okay, now there's another stat which I want to show you. I just want to share with you, and this stat I have collected from Stack Overflow website. Okay, like this is the website, and here you will find a lot of information. Like these are the who don't know about like this Stack Overflow developer survey. This is the website which everyone I think have used it. Like whenever we build something, whenever we deploy something, whenever we test something, in any phase of the development of the software, we always need this Stack Overflow. Like whenever we get stuck, whenever we got some error, whenever we want to optimize anything, we always come to this place in order to get the answer of our unanswered queries, our mysteries. All those solutions will going to have it from this Stack Overflow survey. Okay, so this Stack Overflow survey, it takes a survey from different developers of different background, and throughout the year they collect the information, then they're going to present into this beautiful this website. So from here you can find like around May 2022, 70,000 developers told that how they are learning and how they are using the technology. So if I just will go over here and just go for search over here AWS, you will find similar to 2021. I want going to show you for 2021. Again, you're going to find this AWS in the first position. Okay, here you will see like just a minute. uh, yeah, AWS is this. Okay, it's showing that page. Just a minute, I will just want to show you in different style uh where we're going to have it. Just a minute, just a minute. This is Docker, this is .NET, this is, yeah, from here you will find like AWS is about 55% of the people who have participated in this survey found like 55% were using AWS, and around 30% were using this Microsoft Azure, and around 26% of the developers were using GCP. And if you want to know about the rest of the other players who are in this cloud computing domain, you will find like there is Heroku is there. Heroku is very much popular. I've used this Heroku in order to deploy my web application free of cost, but now they have changed their pricing plan, so there will be a little bit decrease will be there in the case of Heroku. But other than Heroku, we have some other platform through which you are able to deploy your web application freely. Okay, like we have Versal right away, then we have Netlify, then we have this GitHub, through the GitHub pages, you will be able to deploy your application as well. But it won't be in that way, but still you can deploy a very static one, like single page application will be also able to deploy in GitHub pages. Like you, if you're familiar with the React, you can use the React, build some SPA, and then you can put it on GitHub pages. Okay, now not only Heroku, we have the DistroOcean. DistroOcean is another cloud service provider. Then we have VMware and a lot of other things are there, but very low percentages there. So if you see, the key players are this Microsoft, this AWS, the Microsoft Azure, and this Google Cloud. Okay, so if you know about any of them, it will be a huge probability, like large probability, like you're going to have a very good, a job. And if you're going to find the top paying technology, you will find over here, like if you go over here inside the platform, I think so, yeah, around it is in the second position, this AWS and then Microsoft Azure. Yeah, IBM Cloud and Watson, although they are showing this list, but people, very less people are using this IBM Cloud these days. But just because of very less people are there, so there will be a very huge chance that there will be high pay scale will be there. Okay, then there's a Google Cloud is there, and a lot of other things are there. So if you can see from this particular website the trends which is coming, in the technology sector. Then this is for 2023 again. AWS in the first position, then second position we have the Microsoft Azure, then we have Google Cloud in the third position. So through this website you will be able to find out like what is in the trend, and what things if you're going to pick up, or think that are going to help you, okay, in order to get a good job, in order to build the application, in order to do anything. So knowing this data, knowing this information, having much more data points will going to help you. Like whenever we want to build any machine learning model, we always look for more data, because if you have more data points, there will be a good chance of getting a good prediction. Okay, and just make sure that those data should be clean. If the data is not clean, then of course the prediction will be little bit uh you know not so much good. So it is very very much important, like the what is happening, the trend. Okay, and we are in the computer science domain, so there's a huge chance that there will be so much advancement will be happen. Like in upcoming years, there is so much advancement is happening in this open AI space. Like this chat GPT is there, and this bot is also one of the things which you can use it, and a lot of other things is also coming over here. And if you know what is the trend, then knowing this trend will going to help you out. Like there's one very popular proverb is that is there, which works in stock market. I think it also will going to work over here as well. Trend is the friend, so just follow the trend and it's going to help you out to to beat the competition. Okay, now other than it, let's cover those things once again. Like let's read the slides of this AWS to learn more about this AWS. So we have already discussed what exactly the AWS is. uh, who is the main parent of this AWS, which is Amazon only. It was the first company to offer the cloud services at scale and played a very crucial role for popularizing this concept of cloud computing, largest and the most mature, just because it got launched in 2006 and 2003 around. That is why it got time, it got a maturity time, and that is why there is a large exposure of its data center around the world. Okay, extensive global network. Then we have Microsoft Azure. We have know about this Microsoft Azure, and previously it was known as a Windows Azure, but now they simply call it as a Microsoft Azure, and it was launched around 2008. And it provides a very strong integration with the Microsoft software products and the services. What I mean, like if your organization is using the .NET products or any Microsoft products, so there will be a huge chance that they are going to adapt this Microsoft Azure. Or if you're coming from the .NET background, like that how to write a code in C sharp, and that how things work using the VB shell script or whatever, then it will be much more easier for you to adapt with this Microsoft Azure. Like if you are using this window, as I'm using Windows, so it will be much easier for you to adapt to the Microsoft Azure. But if you're going to come in this cloud service domain, so I will say, like, it's my opinion, it's my personal opinion. You can do your own research, but it's my personal opinion. Like if you're going to start with this AWS, then it will be easier for you to understand, because the documentation which AWS provide is somehow pretty good. As you're going to compare with Azure, it's not so much good. Okay, they have the data, they have the documentation, they have all those things all together, but they are so much you're going to feel overwhelmed over here. So that is why I think a little bit getting confused with the Microsoft Azure. But in the case of AWS, they provides those information very easily, and the well documented is there. Like if you're stuck in somewhere, you can just go through the documentation and you will be easy to find the solution. And other than this Microsoft Azure and the AWS, we have something called GCP. As GCP was the third key player, is a third key player, as well as it was little bit launched lately, so it doesn't get so much time in order to create the data centers around the world. But still, just because of they are, expertise in some of the domains. Like if I say, for in case, like as I am in the background of the DevOps, in DevOps we use the Kubernetes, which is a container orchestration tool, so that you will be able to manage multiple containers, okay, at scale. So Kubernetes, like this Kubernetes is built by this Google only, and then later on they have make it this Kubernetes open source and hand it over to the CNCF, okay, a cloud native something. I forget the full form, just don't matter of that. But yeah, just understand, and they are ahead of time just because of this. They're always involved with some advanced technology like Kubernetes. They have TensorFlow. This is very popular machine learning library which helps you in order to build the neural network, all those things. Like with Keras, you will be able to build various things. Okay, I have used this TensorFlow when I was in college, but still I'm using this TensorFlow very much in order to build the what neural networks and build the machine learning application. So just because of those things, just because of the involvement of those advanced technology, this GCP is ahead of this AWS and Azure in terms of machine learning, in terms of big data analytics, in terms of this container orchestration, just because of they have got the experience, they have got the expertise in those particular domains. So if you're going to consider, like if you want to pick which will be the best one, like I will start with AWS, I will start with Azure, I will start with GCP. Just think of your use case. Okay, I won't say like this one is best, this one is best, you have to just learn this thing only. I won't say. It is not question about which one or question. It is something like if you know uh, all of them, it's a particular very good thing. But it is not it is completely impossible to learn all the services of all these cloud service provider. But yeah, one thing you can do, like if you're coming from machine learning background, start with the GCP and then start with other cloud service provider with the machine learning services, so it will be much easier for you to crack the job very easily. So GCP is very much is not so much in the first position, but still the services which they provide is somehow very very outstanding. Okay, and other than it, they have this BigQuery services, they have data analytics services, even the Google Assistant which we have in our Android phone. You can also build those things with the help of Dialogflow, which the services is offered by Google Cloud only. And see, the search engine which you are using, the YouTube which you are using, internally they are using the Google Cloud platform only. Okay, so the power of this Google Cloud platform is not limited, it's too much ahead, we cannot even think of it. But it's up to you, like which platform is much suitable for you, just go for it. Okay, now this is the stat which I have collected from the Stack Overflow, and I've also shown you about the trend among the professional developers. Okay, and then this is a market share which we have already discussed, and this is something called growth rate which we already discussed. Now this is some another stat which I got it from Statsta. Like Amazon S3 owns 44% of the enterprise cloud storage market, which means like whatever we are like whatever we are using, it could be anything, it could be anything. uh, we are using this S3 for storing our data. Okay, like not directly but indirectly, because companies are using this S3, so somehow you are also using this S3 for storing your data. Okay, other data which I got it from Gartner, like around more than 80%, around more than 80% of the Fortune 500 companies trust the business on Azure today. Okay, just because as I said, this there was another competition was happening before the competition of this AWS and Azure. There was another competition was happening between Apple and the Microsoft, and the app this Microsoft collaborate with the IBM, and they built and they have successfully distributed their system around the world. Okay, this is one of the advantages which Microsoft got it. And just because of it, because they were the key player for this operating system, for those things, for managing the infrastructure at that moment, just because that thing only, this Microsoft got an advantage to to spread the Azure facility to those Fortune 500. Okay, so now We have another important stats over here you can find over here, which is showing that like around 90% of large enterprise have adopted a multi-cloud infrastructure. What it means this, what is multi-cloud, by the way? Multi-cloud is a solution, an infrastructure where you are not using only one single cloud service provider, you are using multiple cloud service provider. It could be chance like you will be using Azure and AWS altogether. It could be chance like you are using Azure, AWS, GCP, all three together, or it could be chance that any permutation combination you can apply. You are using multiple multi-cloud infrastructure. So as I said, if you know the knowledge of more than one cloud, it will be a good advantage for you, because if the company is looking for one specific cloud services provider, again it will be going to good. If the company is finding for all this cloud service provider, then again it will be much better solution. So it is completely up to you which platform you're going to pick up. But this cloud service, just understand, this cloud computing will going to be rise more and more in upcoming years, just because of the humongous amount of data which we are creating, and just because of the involvement of this AI and all those things. And this thing will be very much used in the upcoming years. So knowing that how to use these cloud community services will be very much beneficial for you. Okay, now here discuss about the global infrastructure, that how this they are spread around the world, around the globe. Okay, now what are the services? Now see, I have saying this thing like what exactly cloud computing is. This is uh, it's cloud service. Cloud computing simply means like you are basically outsource the thing of managing the infrastructure, managing the all those network components and the storage and the compute components. Cloud service provider will going to take care of it. Okay, so how you're going to use those infrastructure resources, how you will going to use that with the help of internet. Okay, basically, so what they are basically, they are in the form of different services. Like if you want to create the virtual machine, how you are going to do that? You're going to use compute services in order to create the virtual machines. Like in the case of AWS, we have EC2. Okay, now let me show this particular slide so that you can easily understand. And let me just do one thing to slide show this particular thing. Okay, so in the case of compute, we have different, key player, which we have the AWS, Azure, and the GCP. So in the case of AWS, we have EC2, which is Elastic Compute Cloud. Then we have Elastic Beanstalk, where you don't have to take care of maybe the whole infrastructure. Just you have to upload the code, and rest of the thing will be taken care by the AWS. Then we have Elastic Container Services. See, one thing very much important, like in compute, we have three categories. We have basically three categories. Like one is EC2. Okay, like I'm going to take it as an example for the AWS. When we have EC2, where you will going to manage the infrastructure, the IaaS. Okay, like we have, like if I'm going to draw in this way. Okay, if I'm going to draw in this way, firstly here we have the infrastructure layer. Okay, then we have the platform, and then we have what, application layer. Okay, so in the infrastructure layer, what we have the storage component, we have the network component, we have the you know the compute component. Okay, and we have outsourced those things to the cloud service provider. So if you want to create the virtual machine, which is the part of infrastructure, then you can do it using this Elastic Cloud Compute Cloud. Okay, then we have the Elastic Beanstalk, which is a platform as a service. Here you don't have to take care of the infrastructure. The virtual machine will be created by itself, with the help of the cloud service provider will going to take care of it. They will going to create the virtual machine. They're going to configure the auto scaling. They will configure the load balancing. All those things will be configured by AWS only, or any other cloud service provider. Okay, other than it, we have something called containers. So there are multiple ways in order to deploy the application. Either you can use this infrastructure in order to deploy the application, okay, in real infrastructure, or you can do one thing like you can build the application, convert into the Docker image, and then create a Docker container through that Docker image. And these days, containerization is very much popular. So if you know how to work with Docker, so if you go over to this particular stat, you will find where that gone, just a minute. Yeah, from this particular stat you will find, like if I go for over here and just do the find, and just I'm going to write Docker. So you'll find the Docker and the Kubernetes are in the first and the second position for most wanted tools. So Docker is very very much important in order to make your application containerized. Okay, so if you know about how you can work with container, then the Docker is very very much important skill to begin with. Okay, so in container, in compute, we have this EC2, then we have Elastic Beanstalk, then we have ECS, which is Elastic Container Services, then we have Elastic Kubernetes Services, which is managed services offered by AWS in order to create the Kubernetes cluster. Then we have Fargate, which is a serverless, container orchestration through which you are able to deploy your containerized application, but here it is completely serverless, so there will be no chance of, you will be able to handle the infrastructure, the EC2 things. You cannot do that. Okay, then after it, we have something called serverless computing, which we can do one thing like write your code, just focus on building the code, and run that code whenever some event happen. Okay, like some events happen, like suppose this is my S3 bucket, and whenever through a web application a user we're going to upload anything, and if we're going to basically store inside the S3 bucket, a trigger will be created, a event will be going to happen. With that help of that event, a lambda function will be activated, and it will going to perform certain things. Either it could process the data or whatever it could be, and then in this way you can use this lambda function, the serverless way. So here you don't have to run your application. Like suppose, like most of the time what we have to do it, we have to create the virtual machine and then deploy the application, and whenever something happens, some request coming, then that request will be processed by the virtual machine. Okay, but here in this case, the lambda will be only activated, will be only trigger, like will be only process the data when it is activated, when it is triggered, and rest of the time it will be in the rest position. It won't be charge you extra. So if you need something which will be happening for a short time, just do it with the lambda function. Okay, so it is not matter of fact like which compute option you have to choose for, easy to elastic beans. It's just upon uh, totally dependent upon the use case, what use cases you are there, what kind of workload you want to build it. So it is very much important to know about the services. Okay, so this is the example of the computer services which I have discussed in the terms of the AWS. Similar way we have in Azure as well. We have Azure virtual machine, we have app services, which is an alternative to the last beanstalk only. Then we have Azure Kubernetes services, Azure container instances, and at last we have the Azure function. Just like we have the lambda function. Then in the case of GCP, we have the Google Compute Engine, similar to the EC2 only. Then we have App Engine, similar to the Elastic Beanstalk, and then we have the Kubernetes Engine and the Cloud Function. Okay, so these are different compute services which we're going to have it in different cloud service provider. Other than this compute, we have another very important component, which is storage component. So we have three kinds of basically storage component, but like it could be the blob storage, or it could be block storage, or it could be file storage. So we use the blob storage, which stands for binary large object, where you can store the unstructured data. Okay, then other than it, we have the elastic block storage, which will going to act as what I say, the root disk for your virtual machine. Like whenever you're going to run the virtual machine, you need some volume where you're going to put your bootloaders, all those things you can put over there. So it's very, very much important to know about the block storage. And then we have something called file system. Let's suppose you're working with a huge organization. There are so many team members are there, and if they want to share something, if they want to collaborate with something, then they can use elastic file system. Okay, then Glacier is for storing the archival option is there, where you can put those things which you want to make it archive with a lower cost. In a similar way, we in Azure we have Azure blob storage, Azure disk storage. These are some alternatives of this thing only. For S3 we have the blob storage, for elastic block storage we have Azure disk storage, and for EFS we have Azure file storage, and then we have Azure archive storage for the Glacier. Similar way, in the GCP we have Google Cloud Storage, Google Cloud Persistent Storage. Because why it is called persistent, this block storage, because whenever you want to make, just understand, like whenever you're going to launch the virtual machine, the EC2 instances or whatever, and whenever you're going to kill that virtual machine, all those data will be lost. But if you want to make it persistent, like data should be there, data should not be compromised. If the virtual machine is also deleted, then you can use this block storage in order to persist your data. Then we have this Google File Store for just like a file system. Then we have Google Code Line Storage, which is just like as a Glacier or as your archive storage. Okay, other than it, we have the network. In network, we have the virtual private cloud, then virtual network in Azure, and in GCP, we have virtual private cloud again. So with the help of virtual private cloud, what's going to happen? You are making your application much more secure. You're adding an extra layer. By default, whenever you're going to create any AWS account or Azure account, whatever, they always come with a default network where you will be able to deploy your application. But I won't suggest using the default network. It's better to always to create your own custom VPC and deploy your application over there with whatever subnets you have created, whatever firewall rules you have decided, whatever routing you're doing it, you got the whole control over there. Okay, so it's better to create the custom one. Okay, and then we have the elastic load balancer, which is going to distribute the traffic among different EC2 instances. Just understand, like if you have multiple EC2 instances where your application is deployed, and this instances will be automatically created if it is done with the auto scaling group. Whenever the demand is high, it will going to increase the number of virtual machines, and the demand is low, then we're going to kill that virtual machine. So whenever traffic is coming, like whenever the traffic is coming, it will going to distribute the traffic. Okay, and this distribution is done by the load balancer. Okay, so we have the load balancer in both the option. Okay, in AWS we have, in Azure we have, and also we have in GCP as well. Then you can also put some firewall settings in order to set the incoming and outgoing traffic. Okay, and then we have the database. We're going to store the structured data. So both of them provide the different services for storing the structured data. Either it could be, or it could be a relational database, or it could be a NoSQL, something like that. You can use the services in order to create the database. Okay, and database is something which is used all the time. Whenever you're going to create any application, there will be some kind of database will be there. And here I just mentioned the SQL and the NoSQL database. Also we have some cache database which you can also create with the help of this cloud service provider. Okay, and we have the DevOps, and in AWS we have this code pipeline, code build, code deploy, and this code start. Basically, just understand, like whenever you're going to build the DevOps pipeline, it is always in the form of this infinity symbol. So from starting with planning to code, and then building, and then test, and then release, and then operate. Sorry, then deploy, then operate, then monitor. All those things will be in the part of this DevOps pipeline, and it is infinity, which means it will be going to happen continuously. Okay, like from planning to coding, then building, then test, then release, then deploy, then operate and monitor. It will be going to happen continuously way. Okay, so this in the deploy part only, we have this AWS and Azure over here where we're going to deploy the application. Okay, now if you want to do all those things in in AWS only, you can also do that. In AWS, we have the EC2. We are going to deploy those application, and how that application will be deployed. So there will be some version control will be there where we will to store your application code. And whenever, suppose, let me just make you understand that suppose this is your GitHub repository or any repository. Okay, and this is your developer. Whenever this developer and push any code, it will going to activate the CI/CD server, which will going to automate the build. It could be building a new Docker image, pushing to the remote registry, and then deploying that you know latest Docker image to your workload. Either it could be EC2, it could be ECS, it could be anything. Okay, so it is very very much important to know about the DevOps, because DevOps is a very important thing. It's not at any software. It's basically a process, and a process is very very much important, and that is why it is called pipeline. Okay, so there will be something like first in first out. Like whenever if you want to cook something, like if you want to cook the Maggie, there will be some process are involved. So here in this way, like you cannot directly deploy the application. You have to first build the code and the test the code, then we will build the code. So there is a pipeline is there is a process is there. So knowing the process is very very much important. And if you go for the salary for the DevOps, there is a huge hike in this DevOps salary as well. Okay, now other than it, we have the AI/ML. As I said, the GCP is the prominent player in this AI/ML. They have data flow, they have cloud vision, they have so many things. With the help of TensorFlow, they have a good AI/ML things. Okay, not only GCP, this also provide in AWS also. They have this SageMaker, Comprehend, these services which are going to provide the same thing. And recently, I got to know this. Like this is TensorFlow, which is a product of Google only, and this is the Kubernetes, another product of the Google only. This is something which they are doing it from ages, and they have got a better experience than any other cloud service provider. But other than it, I recently got a news of Gluon, which is a new library. Basically, they are this AWS Microsoft altogether, they are making something called Gluon in order to build the machine learning neural network without an easiest way. Okay, so they're not in the behind the race, they are still creating some services so that they can compete with the GCP as well. Okay, now if you go for the pricing, I won't say like AWS is cheaper or GCP is cheaper, or Microsoft is cheap, Microsoft Azure is cheaper. It depends on what use cases you're going to have it. Like for example, this is for the thing. So here, this is my pricing. Okay, this is the calculator, the pricing calculator for the services. You can go from here and create the estimate. Like you can choose the location. Okay, and from here you can choose the service. Like for instance, if I want to create the EC2 instances, I can just go over here and I can just choose the instance type from here. Okay, like how many CPUs I want, how many memory I want. Suppose I would need 4 GB of CPU and 8 GB of RAM. I can easily go through it and easily get the price like around oops, they are charging so much. Just a minute. Which plan I've used? Okay, let's choose this on demand one so that we can get the things. So here we had different options are there, like for compute savings plan and this history instance savings plan. These are something like, here you, if you're going to reserve it for 1 to 3 years, then they're going to charge little bit less amount of money, because they know it, because it is a large contract or longer period contract, so they're going to give some discounts over there. But if you're going to use the on demand service, so they're going to charge around $74 for creating this 4 GB with a CPU and with 8 GB of RAM. Okay, and you got different option as well. You can pick any of them. Like this particular one, this is for general purpose compute service, and they provide around $98 a month. You have to pay for it for running this particular instances. Similar way, like if you want to search it for Microsoft Azure, you can just ping to this particular website pricing calculator, choose the virtual machine, and just go over here in the view option. And then inside the view option, this is for 2 CPU and the 8 GB RAM. And then how much they are charging? They are charging around $127. So somehow they are charging more than AWS, you can see over here. Okay, then we have Google Cloud. From here, this pricing calculator, you can also calculate the pricing for Google. So we have the compute region, which is the alternative of EC2. If you want to create one instances, you can just choose that thing: free operating system, regular E2, and then just click on add to estimates so that we can get the price. So it is around $48 only, and they are basically 2 CPUs and 8 GB RAMs are there. So if I go over here and choose 2 GB CPU and 8 GB RAM, and then if I go over here, I will find the same price over there: $49 in AWS and around $48 in GCP. So they are close. So it depends. Like right now I'm just picking up the general purpose service, general purpose compute service. So if you go for here and choose the different options, like the regular one, or the memory optimized, the storage optimized, the compute optimized, then the prices will be start varying. Okay, and you have to look for it, what is your use case, and then you have to decide which cloud platform you can choose for. Okay, now this is how you can check the prices of different cloud service provider. Okay, other than it, one thing which I want to let you share, like if you want to start your career in AWS or in any of the cloud service provider, it is very much important to know about the of the certification as well. So if you have the certification, you will going to have the what I say, the if there will be a lot of competition is there, then you will be able, you got some edge over others in order to beat the competition. So there are so many certification for AWS. Like we have some foundational level certification, like here no experience is required. Then we have the associate level certification, where we have solution architect, developer. Like if you're coming from the developer background, go for this certification. If you're coming from admin background, then go for this certification, the steps of administrator. And if you want to become the solution architect, then this is will be the perfect one. And if you go for the search, like which is one of the popular certification, you'll find this AWS solution architect associate, which is the one of the most popular certification. If you want to start your career with in AWS, then you can go for this particular certification. Other than it, there are some professional certifications out there, like DevOps engineer and then solution architect for professionals. Then we also have some specialty certification as well, like advanced networking, data analytics, database. It totally depends, like on from which background you are coming in, what is the requirement. Then you can pick any of the certification accordingly. Okay, and then also charges will be vary from certification to certification. For the beginners, for the foundation level, the charges will be not so much high. For associate, it will be around $150, something like that. And for professional, it will going to charge around $250, something like that. Okay, in similar way, you're going to have with the Azure as well. And here basically there are some levels are there in the context to the AWS, but in the context to the Azure, here you're going to have, you have to choose like from which role you're coming in, and then you have to pick up the certification you want to. Okay, right now you will find 56 certification are out there for Azure, and but you can choose the roles, and then you will find, like suppose I'm coming from the data analyst, so what are the certification I can pursue. Okay, so these are the different certification which you can pursue for the data analytics. Okay, and if you're coming from any other things, you can also do have a search like Devops, developer, and there are a lot of other roles are there. You can just pick the roles and then do it. Okay, other than it, we have the GCP certification, and here you will still find those things. And here they have the foundation level, just like do we have in AWS. Okay, the foundational certification, then we have the associate certification, and they are also mentioning the roles as well, which are related to this particular certification. For professional certification, you're going to have this much roles, so you can just have a look and see which certification will going to help you out. Okay, certification is not so much necessary, but if you have this certification, you are basically validating your skill, and it will be much easier for the recruiters to see that you are already got the knowledge over this cloud. Okay, but just understand, most of the certification, like in the case of associate, they won't perform the practical things over there. Okay, there will be some foundational fundamental concepts will be there, the question will be in that way. So through the certification, you are not, it is not sure like you are able to perform it practically. And in order to perform practically, it is very very much important to do the practice, because if you're going to perform, if you're going to do the practice, the skill will be will be built just because of practice. And once the skill will be built, you will getting more confident, and once you get more confident, then you will do anything, because confidence is a very very rare component. So if you know, if you are confident, then you will be able to crack any job, and you will do anything whatever you want in your life. Okay, and it will going to work in in different domains as well, not only for cloud computing, it will going to work for different domains. Okay, now here one more thing which I want to share, and this is you can consider as a bonus part of this session. Like right now there's challenges happening, where through which with this challenge, you will get 50% discount on AWS certification. Okay, so you have to just follow this particular thing, the particular link, and from which you will be able to get the discount. Okay, one more thing which I want to share, uh, just a minute. Yeah, yeah, 50% discount is there for AWS. And here for Microsoft, they're also doing some challenge, and through which you're going to get some AI skill challenge, and then some badges will be there with some goodies will be there. So you can just have a look what are the challenge, what is happening in this domain, and you're going to get some goodies, some certifications and badges which will going to help you. Okay, and you can put it on LinkedIn, so the recruiter will also going to see that, and most on and increase the probability of getting the job into that company. And yeah, these are something which I thought to tell you. And other than it, one fantastic thing about this AWS is they are also working on deep plans, and there are a lot of different things they are working on. And deep plans is very good in order to make uh, your deep learning model, in order to train your deep learning model for computer vision application. So if you know that how to write the neural network, how to write the CNN, then you can use the SageMaker and the deep lens all together in order to build some application. Okay, so this is something which I thought to share you. This TensorFlow and this Kubernetes is the product of Google only. And yeah, one more thing at last with what I want to share, like if you want to start any of the platform, either it could be AWS, or it could be Microsoft, or it could be GCP. Like if you go for this AWS account, you have to just log in. If you are a student, then they won't ask for the credit card as well. You can just simply go to this free tier website and then create a free account. And here some services will be in free trial, like once you have started their services, it will be valid for 30 days, something like that. And some services will be free only for 12 months, and some services will be free all the time. So try to start with the services which are free all the time, because if there is some threshold there, and if you're going to cross the threshold, then there will be incur a cost. So you have to think in such a way. Then we have something called in this Azure, they also provide the free services, free account for you, like if you want to start the learning of this Azure. Okay, and one best part over here is, which doesn't happen in AWS. In AWS you don't get some free credits, but here in the case of Azure, you're going to get free credits as well, around $200, which will be only valid for first 30 days, like for the first month only. So here you can experiment anything. Okay, you can experiment any services, and it will be free. Like if you're going to cross the $300, then it will be over, that this particular benefit will be over, but still you got the $300, and through that you will you know experiment with so many services. Okay, and if you go for this GCP as well, they also provide around $300 of free credits. So if you are new, if you want to experiment with any services, you can also do start with this GCP as well. So if I have to conclude which cloud service provider you have to go for, I will simply say, like, if you're a beginner, if you have zero knowledge in AWS, it is very very much important to start with either AWS. It is my personal opinion. If you are coming from this Windows platform, Windows background, so you will find easier in Azure. Okay, and if you want to if you're coming from this machine learning background, the data analytics background, so it will be better, like if you're going to opt this GCP. Okay, and other than it, you will going to have a scope for all these three key players of this cloud service provider. If you go for the job search, you will find these are something which are very much in the huge demand. Okay, so these are different products which we have it, like different services you can see from this particular portal as well. From this portal as well, you can see different services of Azure, and you will find there are so many services out there, like AI, analytics, compute, container, database, developer tools, DevOps, and there are so many services are out there. So it is completely impossible to learn and excel each and every services. Just you have to think it of which use case you are working on, which is what is the requirement for your organization where you are working in, and then learn those things, and it will going to help you out. Okay, and now suppose if your organization is not using cloud computing and you have got the experience with the cloud computing, so you can just do only one thing, just left their job and go for higher package, because this cloud service are going to give a good amount of high skill package. So these are something which are the thing which I want to discuss with you, and we're going to end the session. After it, if you guys have any kind of doubt, you can just let me know. What is Okay, what is Kubernetes engine? Okay, so Kubernetes engine is a container orchestration through which you are able to manage the containers. Like containers, with the help of containers, you don't need to take care of, you know, configuring each and everything. Just understand, like whenever you build something and whenever you want to run that thing into your peer's computer, into your friend's or colleague's computer, what happened basically? It happens like, there will be a huge chance there will be some problem will be there, like some installment you have to do, some configuration you have to do it. Okay, and just understand, it varies. Like there's so many, memes are there, it works on my machine, something like that. This kind of problem will be solved by this Docker. Okay, and today we are in the world of microservices. Today we are in the world of microservices, which simply means that there will be a lot of chances that these microservices are using some kind of these containers in order to deploy it. And if you know this Kubernetes, because this Kubernetes will going to help you in order to manage large amount of containers. Okay, you will be able to make your application highly available, self-healing, and easy deployment, easy update, quick rollback. These are the features you are coming from this Kubernetes. So if you know this Kubernetes, it will be much easier for you to handle the what it will be able to handle the containers. Okay, and okay, and any other doubt which you have, guys, have it, just let me know. Which is better language for TSS, C or CP? It's completely dependent. Like uh, either you can opt C, either you can opt C++. Any language you can opt it for. Any doubt anyone have? No? Okay, so this is for all today. Like today we have learned about cloud computing. We have learned about the differences. We have basically compared with this AWS, Azure, and GCP all together, and got to know what are the perks which we are getting, what are the pros and cons of different cloud service provider. You have to pick it from the different options which you have it. Okay, so if just in case, like if your organization is shifting your workload to the Oracle, so I will advise to learn about the Oracle. Okay, so it's completely up to you, like what is the current scenario, what is the use case, and accordingly you have to adjust. You have to become flexible in order to get a better opportunity. Okay, don't stick to only one thing. If you want to move ahead, you just have to be a flexible, like from where you are getting the opportunity, just you have to think in that way. Okay, just do whatever will going to provide a huge leverage. So this is for all today's session. Thank you everyone. And today we have learned each and everything. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can also do that. This is my LinkedIn profile from where you will be able to connect with me. If you have any kind of doubt, just let me know. Okay, I will be happy to help you out in this domain, basically. Okay, so this is for all today, and yeah, thank you everyone for in this session.